The INKJET KM1, it's now been a couple of years since Drupal. We've moved on. We've got numbers of installations worldwide. Customers are really enjoying the exciting thing that UV inkjet can deliver. And I think where we found our ability to work with customers is proving dividends for them because they're seeing good, healthy returns. And that's coming not only from the quality, because we are matching that offset quality, the sheet handling because it's offset, the sheet size because we've got that larger than B2 sheet, which is allowing people to gang more jobs up, be highly efficient, much more optimized to cope with the demands that businesses like theirs are feeling now in this changing economy and changing market that we're in. And that also is allowing them to push the boundaries because of the technology that we've got to move into new substrates. That's things like plastics, oils, etc., and develop new market opportunities. So we're into now things like loyalty cards, gifting cards, RFIDs being inserted into them, and all of this exciting new stuff that's taking place. So yes, we're experts at printing onto paper and onto standard traditional stocks, but we're now experts now moving into those new substrates as well. Interesting. Well, this is the difference between water-based technology and I guess UV. The benefit of UV and what we're doing, where we now have this terminology called Dotfreeze. And Dotfreeze technology allows us to take that inkjet droplet, control the movement of the drops so you're not finding that you're getting excessive dot gain, you're not having to use expensive coatings or primers or anything like this, and that you're in a situation where you can hold that dot exactly where you need it to be. Clearly drying is a big area. A lot of people talk to us about drying. What happens, what happens with the sheet? Do we have problems? Can we, take the sheet straight off the machine and put it into our finishing devices? And that's clearly was, the R&D teams have set this challenge, not only come up with a fantastic technology when it comes to print quality, but also think about the complete end-to-end process. And drying, clearly, it gives its challenges. Let's be open with you. You've got paper which is hygroscopic. You've put too much fluid onto that paper, you're going to have difficulties trying to control it. And that was one of the things that the team looked at, and a big consideration that they looked at when they developed Dotfreeze technology. Well, Dotfreeze technology is unique. It's patented to Konica-Minolta, and there's three essential parts to that. You've clearly got the ink, which is our high viscosity HSUV ink. You've got the LED drying system, which comes in within the technology as well. You've got the inkjet heads, which are Konica-Minolta's, and then you've got the whole process, which uses the IJ manager to control everything. And those three components are essential to making sure that you not only get good quality out of the machine, but you get it reliably. And we've been doing some tests recently as regards to run lengths, and we're seeing delta re colour shift across the page and sheet to sheet over a run length of over 1,000, less than one, which is unheard of. This is new boundaries for inkjet technology, and something which our customers are clearly benefiting from. Clearly plastics is slightly different because you've got the dyeing level, so we have to make sure that the ink adhesion and that, so we're using Corona, we're using primers in that area. But when it comes to the traditional offset, when you're printing onto coated, uncoated, carton board or whatever, we can do those without the challenge that perhaps some other people have, where they need to control dot gain and they're using primers or an expensive coating. So we have the ability to print onto any standard offset material that's out there, which means that when you go to change your process, and perhaps you're an offset printer today where you're seeing run lengths come down, jobs increasing, and how are you going to cope with that in a traditional, perhaps analog process, we can just move straightforwardly from your traditional, move the analog out, put the inkjet in, with no then specialist concerns around perhaps the paper or substrate handling. You're raising a really good point, and this comes down to, again, to focus on the business. So in the studies that we've done and the clients that we work with, some of them are quite surprised where savings can be made. And if you look at it from the beginning, so you've got a job, I don't know, the jobs are changing, whereas before you may be printing 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, you may be shipping some surplus stock, which would be warehoused or stored. Those days are long gone. And now what's happening is that run lengths are dropping, So that's putting demands on how do you gang jobs up onto plates, how do you get your processor and your plate setter to produce enough plates to then feed onto your offset presses. So it's all of those things that need to be considered, and the cost impact. Then you go into the next bit, which is how do you take a job and optimize that job for inkjet? And that's where we've got some clever software which is looking at UCR, GCR, but also maintaining the standards, because the pigments and our ink itself is very, very stable. So we use that. So whilst the cost for the ink might be slightly higher, by using some clever technology, the actual cost per page is reduced. Absolutely, we're doing that, but also we're looking at the value of the document, because we're looking at this in conjunction with other technologies that we've got, like MGI, for instance, our strong partnership with MGI. We're looking at, how can we add digital foiling, digital varnishing, etc. on top of the KM1 print. But also the value itself comes in what you actually want to achieve from the substrate. So because we have the ability to move on to heavy textured calendared substrates, we're now giving design advice as well. Why did you produce the brochure this way when perhaps if the brochure could be slightly changed, use of different medias, then you have a more impactful brochure, which by the way, you're having to compete with digital online mediums as well. So the more you can attract, the more you can encourage people to read your documentation, and some of that is around the tactile, the feel of the actual document as well. You get better results with your marketing, and that's something that we're very focused on. Okay, so we've got a number of initiatives. We'll start first of all, we launched Procom two and a bit years ago. That's building, more and more members. We're up to our second annual conference this year that's going to take place in Budapest. That's about education, and we have a number of programs in that area. The second thing then is looking at what's happening within the marketing services sector. So Konica-Minolta, through its acquisitions and everything else, developed a whole division, Konica-Minolta Marketing Services, and we're supplying advice and services to the top larger companies within that area. But what that's giving us then is the ability to take what's happening within the digital area and then adapt that to support our customers. And we're finding that actually print and digital has got a quite exciting future if you're focused again on what the end client wants. So there's a number of initiatives where it comes to education, design services. We're looking at working with a lot of the paper and media suppliers out there on what we can deliver. So we're always getting new stocks into our showroom and our testing areas where people say, I've developed this new coating, developed this new product, developed this, can your inkjet cope with it? Yeah, no problem. And in fairness, that's how we developed some of the things for plastics, printing onto PET, polyester, PVC, etc. And then we've got our partners. And that's people like Harris and Bruno and others that work with us extensively to help us then develop those new market opportunities. So it's always about education. Well, this is really interesting. And this is something it's been surprising to us as well. So we've now got companies that are book printers that are producing book jackets, high quality books. Some of these books are retailing for $800 to $1,000. It's that high quality end of the market that we've been successful in. We've got online printers, quite a number of online printers now, because the challenge there is they've got lots of jobs, but they're small job lots. And then how do you impose them onto the sheet, etc., to move it forward? We've got people now in the plastic card industry producing on our technology. We've got clearly the commercial printer who's moving his processes and complementing. And we've now, which will be here at GraphCon with Alex from Remstruck, he'll be talking about hybrid printing. So how can you still use your offset press and inkjet in a combination which manages that cost base but increases the run length, but then you've got personalization and everything else taking place at the same time. So the key really is focusing on what's your objective that your customer wants. We call that the purchasing triangle. Always focus on the end user of the application and what their wants and needs are, and then how can we deliver an exceptional product to that person that has impact and can clearly show a return on investment.